Okay, I'm literally in shock that you are on my podcast right now. And I'm so happy about it.
Me too.
How are you doing today?
Great. Yeah.
Good.
Had a fun night last night. And
you were just saying that you live with your best friend, Adam.
I do. And we shouldn't live together.
And you shouldn't live together.
Because we like to bet on football and drink whiskey.
So you've got a whiskey addiction, a
football betting addiction,
gambling addiction.
Yes. All of the things. All the problems. Things. Yeah.
Mostly, though, you have a music addiction.
Yes.
That you got from me, I'm proud to say. Mm-hmm. And the main reason that you're on here is because, well, the girls have already been on, so you're the last of the kids to be on.
Right.
But I feel like your episode's going to be the best because
Definitely.
I always tell people that we're the most alike. Like, I would say that we are truly, like, mothers and sons always have like a special thing.
Yes.
But I would say that you're truly one of my best friends that I have in the world.
Yep.
And I would expect you to say that back right now at this
truly
point.
One of my best friends in the world.
Thank you. I was waiting for that response. But we have the same brain.
We do. We always say, I got your brain, Livy got your heart, and Audrey got your personality.
Yes.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
And I think part of it is because, so I, moved to Nashville, got a record deal, and I was like, I'm not going to have a child until I get my first #1 record.
Right. Which I love because that means I'm a product of success.
Exactly.
My entire existence is based on
a result
commercial success.
Of commercial success.
Exactly.
Yes. And I've tried to use you since the day you were born to help me with my commercial success.
Right.
But so.
Which is why I'm being paid to do this show.
Did I say I would pay you?
I thought so. Yeah. Somebody did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, think of something, maybe like $5 or something.
Okay, that's fine.
But we truly are so close. And I think a lot of that is because you were 3.5 years old before Olivia was born.
Yes.
And so I was on the road constantly.
Yep.
And I would have a nanny like on the road to help me with you while I was on stage, But we did spend so much time, just me and you, like traveling, going through airports, lugging, and you just had to go with me. And you were like the literal, because we were just on one bus before I got rich and could afford a second bus.
Right. And then you left me on the band bus and just took your bus to yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And I had the band take care of you. But you were the center of the world when you were a baby. And you had a weird, from birth till about 6 years old when you started kindergarten.
Right.
Because you were on the road constantly.
And I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
I always say like to my friends that are now starting to tour, that I tour with in various bands and stuff, I always say, like, y'all have no idea how nostalgic every morning when I step off the bus and the roadies are smoking cigarettes and you can smell the fuel from the bus. And I'm like, you have no idea. This is pure nostalgia for me every time.
Yes.
It's being a kid, going to catering, the smell of the food down, like wafting down the hall. Is wafting a word? Wafting down the hallway as you walk through the venue. And all of those things are key elements of my childhood where most people, I don't even know what they were doing. Right. From 0 to 6.
No, we used to say that when you started kindergarten, you would be taking in a Starbucks and a briefcase because you were so mature as a child because you were only around adults.
Right. Which made me afraid of people my age, I think.
Yeah, talk about that because you told me that recently.
I don't know. I was around adults and mature human beings who had developed a sensitivity. And then I would go to elementary school after spending a weekend with them, with adults, and I wouldn't understand why kids weren't sensitive like and adults nice. And kind and sort of, and it's just because kids are figuring out how to be social. Right. They haven't developed it yet, but.
Yeah, that's true because none of the adults that you were around from birth until you started kindergarten would have ever been mean to you. But then, then you start kindergarten and you've got kids that are like, shut up, you're stupid, and you were probably like, whoa, I've never.
Right. Like I was talking history with my Uncle Matt.
Right. Yeah. And we should mention that too, that my brother and your Uncle Matt was my bass player professionally for 20 some years. And Aunt KK, his wife, did my hair, makeup, wardrobe. So you had them to help me raise you in your formative years.
Right.
Which was, which is why you're so close to them now.
Yeah, like they're in many ways second parents, I feel like, to me.
Yeah. The only thing, speaking of nostalgia, that you feel like now when you're on the road touring with people is there's not like a mom that's like drunk and passed out.
Right.
Like
now it's me who's drunk and I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, I was not.
No, you weren't. I mean, people always ask me, I bet your life was so crazy. I bet it was parties and rock star. And it's like, people don't understand. This is something I wanted to talk about with you is people don't understand how much of a trade this is. There are some fun moments like going to Los Angeles and staying at the Sunset Marquis or running into a celebrity that you idolize.
Right.
But most of it really is a trade. And I always tell people, it's just like if your dad's a plumber and you inherit his plumbing business and you become a plumber yourself. Like,
yes.
I think one thing that is cool about our family is that we treat it like a trade, and most of the luxurious elements of it aren't the focal point for us. The focal point is the playing, learning the instruments, writing the songs. And it's on both sides of the family, mom and dad, and like you said, all of your sisters sing. Uncle Matt played bass. Uncle Jay's a great musician.
And your dad's
and Alex,
entire family.
And my dad's entire family they were like the Eagles, they were in a band together. And so it is a trade to us, and the extra bits are just fun.
Right. Like when we get to go backstage to a concert and we get special treatment, we get to go to the front of the line if we're at Six Flags or Universal or whatever.
Right.
Those are the, glamorous parts of it. But yeah, we do treat it like a family business.
It's a family trade. Yeah. It's something we all do and discuss, but we're also not like obsessed.
Right.
Like, we're not obsessed with the business part of it either. We're just obsessed with music. We love records.
Yeah.
And
it's so in our blood.
Yeah.
And when you were little, I noticed immediately that you had the music gift. And again, why wouldn't you? Because your biological father and his whole family has it. And then your mom and my whole family has it. But you started playing drums when you were very young. How old would you say?
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were immediately incredible.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to act like I was special, because the best part about moving to Nashville is you meet like 40 other people your age who were also the special kid growing up that had a gift, that were the star drummer, star guitar player, star bass player, singer of their small town.
Right.
Which I loved meeting a lot of my friends when they were at Belmont and I wasn't, but same age. You learn that you're in a healthy way, that you're not as unique as you thought you were. And it makes you want to work harder to compete with them. But they're also like, the natural thing. Like I just remember as a kid being obsessed with rhythm. So like the clock ticking, I used to get in trouble in school for drumming on the table and drumming on my lap. And, so rhythm, I think for me is like the core basis of my love for music. What
made you decide to switch to guitar or add guitar to your repertoire?
Well, I was in a band, repertoire. Yeah, repertoire. That's a good word.
It's like Worcestershire.
Yeah, no one can pronounce it
repertoire.
Right. Yeah, who cares? I watched, you turned me on to John Mayer at a young age. And even as a drummer, I was still a huge fan of his because of Steve Jordan, Aaron Sterling. Like he always has the best drummers in the world. A few more. Near Z drummed on the first record. I'm probably missing JJ Johnson from Texas. Like,
did Matt Chamberlain play on any of his stuff?
Yeah, Matt Chamberlain played on the first or the second album.
3 of those that you've named have played on my records.
Exactly.
I am so much like you. I'm obsessed with drums and bass.
Right. So I was obsessed with him even as a drummer. But then something about that movie that he did, Where the Light Is, he just looked so cool in the suit. And I just thought, selfishly, as much as I love Steve Jordan and JJ Johnson, who are the two drummers in that movie, I was like, I want to be the guy up front, like John is. I want to be the one telling the story. And so that's when, you know, I had an old Stratocaster that y'all bought me, like a cheap Strat and a little practice amp. And that's when I started playing guitar.
Yeah.
You know?
My sister Ashley, I always listen to John Mayer because I think you, if you had to name from when you were a little boy, people probably assume that, you know, all we listen to is country music. Name what you remember listening to in the car and being influenced by.
Yeah. The two records are Room for Squares, John Mayer, and Songs About Jane.
Yes.
Maroon 5.
Yes.
That was our whole childhood. And then there was country too. Like, of course, I remember Brooks and Dunn as a kid. I remember a ton of that. And I remember, I always loved, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yes.
I liked the heavier country songs.
So that was probably like if we were in the car and had the radio on or something. But I do remember being obsessed with, and our family does that. We will get on an album like when we got on Casey Musgraves.
Which we'll dive into that.
I always want to call that album Slow Burn, but what's the name of the album?
Golden Hour.
Golden Hour.
Yeah.
When we get on an album, we literally run it into the ground.
Oh my gosh.
We listen to it because we want to know everything about what we're hearing.
Yep.
And memorize it.
Fall asleep to it. I mean, I don't do it anymore because I feel like it stifles songwriting if you listen to too much music. Too much. Lately, a thing that I've been like ruminating on is too much input is not good all the time.
Right.
I spent so much time, and you did too, growing up just with input, constant new music, listening. Then after a while, I feel like, which can lead into kind of like why I'm here right now, is because you can't always be listening to the greats because you have to give yourself room for non-comparison to them.
So true.
If you want to be a good songwriter. And I'm just learning how to write songs still, but like, you can't listen to the Beatles all the time because they're the best of all time. You can't listen to George Jones all the time. You're going to get locked in this weird thing where you're comparing yourself constantly to people who are like 20 years into mastering their craft. So now I think I listen to less music than I've ever listened to in my life.
Same. I don't listen to music at all.
Me neither. I mean, rarely.
Yeah. It's too, like you said, you just explained it perfectly. It's too much input. But I do remember, so you've always been very competitive and you've always been, and probably, again, going back to you growing up on the bus around adults and everybody just, you know, putting all the focus on you because again, there are 3.5 years between you and Olivia. So,
which probably wasn't good for my mental health. Probably made me an egomaniac as a kid.
You are not an egomaniac.
As a kid, I mean.
No, you never have been. Avery, that's what I always say. No, I'm not saying this because you're my son, but you have one of the most amazing hearts of any human being. People who describe you always say that. And
depends on who you ask. You
have an old soul. You really, really do. But you are very, very competitive, mostly with yourself. You know, you played sports growing up, and I thought you were a great athlete in high school. And I think sports and music go together because I'm also a great athlete.
Yeah.
And you were so hard on yourself all the time. One mistake and you would just be so angry. But I do remember a couple of little stories that I wanted to tell about, and that's what's leading up to, again, why you're here today, because we're going to talk about something really exciting. But you were a drummer, and you would drum all the time out in the garage, and you were so great. As 6 years old, 7 years, I mean, people would just be like, gosh, and one morning at breakfast, I said to you, did you know that Justin Bieber plays drums?
Yep. Yeah, I remember
All
this.
I said was Justin Bieber plays drums.
Right.
I did not say he's great, he's incredible, nothing. You got so mad, and you go, I mean, thanks a lot, Mom. I mean, what if I told you that Carrie Underwood is the best country singer in the world?
Right.
And I died laughing because I was like, all I said was he plays drums.
Well, also Justin was, I think he's like 5 years older than me. And
Yeah.
he was already so famous. But I was
Right.
comparing my drumming skills to another kid in my mind, but he already had a
he's older
label
than
behind
you.
him.
Yeah.
He was a stud,
Totally.
writer, singer, everything. But it made me so mad. I'm
It
like,
made you so mad.
Yeah.
Which is great though. You need that inner competitiveness, and that's, because you have so much ambition and drive. And but yeah, I remember the whole family was in the car. We were coming back from taking a drive in the country, and Ashley had sent me Born and Raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I had kind of gotten off of John Mayer for a little bit. Wasn't really as obsessed with him as I had normally been.
right.
And then she said, have you heard John Mayer's new record, Born and Raised? And so then the obsession started all over again.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite albums ever. And
Me too.
just
oh my
had
gosh.
Erin Sterling on the podcast.
Yeah.
Who played drums on that.
It kind of made that record
Yes.
special with his drumming, I feel like.
He absolutely
Yeah.
did. And so we were driving back, and you were only about 13 or 14 years
Mm-hmm.
old, and you were sitting in the back of the Hummer, and I go, Avery, you should really start listening to John Mayer, because you had decided that you wanted to start playing guitar, because
Yep.
you said, I want to be the one telling the story. I want to be the one in front. And so you were like, okay. And from that point on, I think, we never heard anything in the house except, John Mayer. And then it moved to, I think this is a common thing that guitar players do. They start listening to John, then they start
They
listening
go
to whoever
backwards.
John loves.
Exactly. They go backwards.
So who else was it?
Of course, like the next step is Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes.
And then you go to B.B. King. And
Yeah.
then I got out of that world of blues and I got really into 70s rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So then I obsessed over Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, who
Right.
I think is the greatest parts player ever in terms of just writing memorable parts. There are great players, and then there are guys in the studio who can thrive. And
Right.
Jimmy Page thrives in the studio.
Yes.
He was a little sloppy live
Yeah.
for different, various reasons.
Right.
But
Eric Clapton.
Yeah, Clapton. I
Yeah.
have Slow Hand tattooed on my arm.
Yeah,
for Clapton.
that was your very first tattoo
That's
that
right.
you ever got.
Day I graduated high school.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, which in Mountain Brook was very taboo.
Yes,
The-
yeah.
where I grew up, where we grew up.
We should remind or tell the audience that you guys grew up in Alabama
Mm-hmm.
in a suburb of Birmingham called Mountain Brook.
Wonderful place. Love
Heaven
it.
on earth.
Still love all my friends from there.
Yeah.
But it's a very, it's night and day compared to Nashville. Where
Yes.
in Nashville, it's the standard to be a little bit out there and artistic.
Yes.
There, it's not necessarily the standard.
Right. It's very more like, college kind of
Yeah.
wearing khakis and that
Right.
kind of
But also like to pay tribute to Birmingham, which is I still adore and still think of as my home. The music taste is phenomenal.
it is.
All the dads, I always tell people like they don't really listen to country in Birmingham
Right.
or in Mountain Brook. They listen to, I just remember the Allman Brothers, which is another huge, huge influence, and the Grateful Dead, pretty impactful as well on my music, on like my taste. And it's very much like stoner rock, frat boy
Absolutely.
music. And I love that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a big influence on you. Yeah. So I remember, you, because you're an extremely hard worker and again, extremely competitive with yourself. And sometimes it's hard to deal with you in that way because, you have two sisters and you have 4 step siblings, but the primary, influences in your life and in your home every day and every night, me and Daddy Jay and Livy and Audrey. And so you had to deal a lot with 2 sisters and a mom who in a way doted over you.
Right.
But also, were always encouraging you.
Yeah.
And telling you, no, you are so gifted, but it was very hard for you to believe.
Yeah.
You know, I would listen to you though upstairs, and me being a professional musician. And the day that I knew, and this may sound weird to other people or people who are guitar players, but to me, not being a guitar player, I've ran bands since I was 6 years old.
Yeah. And you're a great leader of musicians.
Thank you.
Even if you're not a player yourself, you have a gift at communicating, I feel like.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a no bullshitter. It's just like, because, you know, if you're going to work with me as a musician, you have to have thick skin, because I'm not mean, but I'm also just going to say, that doesn't sound good. Do this, you know, or that's not the right direction or whatever. So with me, I think it was Halloween, and you were just playing around with your guitar, and you and Olivia were going to perform a song at a little Halloween party in Mountain Brook. And she decided that she wanted to change the key, and you just went and changed the key. And I was like, are you not using a capo? And you were like, no. And so that may be common to other guitar players. I don't know, but every guitar,
it is. Yeah.
Okay. But for you at that age, you were about 15 or 16, and you'd only been playing guitar for a few years. That's when I knew, like, you have something very special if you can just immediately transpose these songs without a capo. And
Well, I just had a little pedal that I would click and it would change the key for me.
That's not true.
Those exist now, by the way.
Do they?
Oh, I use it all the time, like with female singers when they want to sing and there's a baritone guitar part. I just hit the pedal and it just, brings
very
me
cool.
down. Yeah.
But you know, me growing up playing in amateur bands, every guitar player always needed a capo.
Right.
So when you didn't need a capo, I was like, this is what he needs to do for his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Which there's nothing wrong with the capo.
No, not at all.
Because the capo is a great tool.
It is a great tool, but I just...
Which people don't know what capos are. We should probably explain.
Yeah, a capo is what you put on the neck of you should probably explain it.
Well, even as a kid, I was like, what is that weird thing coming off the guitar neck? You know?
But it just, you change the key.
Yeah, it just makes the open strings higher than what they are according to the nut of the guitar. You know?
So if you memorize a song, like my brothers, growing up, like they would memorize the song in a certain key, and then I was always afraid to ask them to change the key because that would make them mad, because they would have to re-memorize or use a capo or whatever.
Right.
All that to say, all you did was play guitar. I mean, that was all you did. And football.
It was just football and guitar.
Football, guitar.
Both very contradicting activities if you're thinking about your hand health.
Yes.
I have nightmares to this day about I'm playing football again and I'm breaking my fingers. I still think about it.
It worried
and I
me
never
all the time.
did, thank God. And it happened all the time in practice,
Yeah.
But it never happened. Thank God.
I mean, I prayed about that every football game, because I was like, oh, if he hurts his fingers, like...
I'm unemployed. Who knows what I'd be doing right now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So...
I'd probably have my own podcast, but it would be way less interesting.
And better than this one. No, it would be better than this one. It would.
For the wrong reasons.
I'm just learning how to do this podcast. But we got to talk about the Barker family band. Okay. So I am always looking for ideas to do in my career.
Right.
Like the podcast, or when we did Closet Chaos during COVID. And so I wanted to, because Olivia is one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life.
I think she's one of the best singers in Nashville.
Yeah.
Easily.
Possibly in the world.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
She's unbelievable. She's like you in the sense that it's hard to tell her that. It's hard for me to tell you how great you are. And because you think it's just because I'm your mom, but I know that it's because I am a musician. And so it's not bullshit. But I was like, we should do a little project, a little side project with you playing guitar and Olivia singing, and we'll make like a little EP and do some shows. And I bet the fans would go crazy because the fans are always interested in you guys.
And family, Todd calls it blood harm.
Yeah, blood harm.
Yeah, blood harm.
And so you were 16?
I think I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
18, and Olivia
18 or 19.
was 15 or 16. So we just decided to do a bunch of cover tunes and some of my tunes, and we did 5 or 6 shows live at City Wineries. We did New York City, and then we filmed the one in Nashville.
That's right.
It's Barker Family Band, and I called it that because
we were the Barker Bunch.
We were the Barker Bunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'll be interesting to people, and they'll be wanting to know, what is this all about? And so in the live show, Uncle Matt played bass, Aunt Leslie sang harmony, Livy and I sang lead, you played electric mostly.
Ben Thompson on acoustic and electric as well.
Played acoustic and some electric and
mandolin.
And then Jim Bloodgood, our drummer, played just a small,
like a cocktail kit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did some really, really cool songs. Like we opened the show with
Crosby, Stills and Nash. Southern Cross. Yeah. And at the time it was, and I get it because, you know, you guys were teenagers and, but that was, I have PTSD from that. But looking back on it now, wouldn't you say that it's really fucking cool? Oh, it's amazing. It's
amazing.
Every time I get a little buzz on, I turn that on because it's
amazing.
But I do that with anything that I'm a part of. I really can't listen to it. And you probably, unless it's the final product.
Right.
It's just,
I hate every song I write right after I write it.
Yeah. I hate every song I write. I hate every song I sing, you know, so it was probably just, I was too young to recognize, that it's okay to be imperfect. That's why it's called live music, because it's alive, it's flawed. Right. It has warts and all, you know?
Yes.
But at that age, I was a perfectionist, and I was a huge admirer of Ben, who is still your guitar player. And he's, I think, one of the greatest guitar players in Nashville.
Ben Thompson.
Shout out Ben. He's the best.
He's not on Instagram, which drives me crazy.
I know, because he should be viral.
He should be
everywhere.
Yeah.
But it was hard to go from, because I primarily played rhythm and a lot of acoustic with you, and Ben is your lead player primarily. And so then all of a sudden he's kind of taking the back seat and I'm playing lead. And he never did anything to make me self-conscious because he's such a great teacher. I think he's honestly like my primary influence on guitar above the famous ones, the rock stars. He's taught me more than anyone else has. And so I'm playing lead all of a sudden. He's taking the back seat. I didn't know how to deal with the self-consciousness of being the lead guitar player in a live scenario.
Well, and there was a big fear that Olivia has too of nepotism.
Of course, yeah.
And
Nepo baby.
Baby, that's right.
That's a big phrase that the kids use these days.
Yes, and for me, one day I realized, you know, I grew up on stage and my children grew up on the road, but not on stage. How am I going to provide y'all with the opportunity to play live music?
Right.
So that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to do the Barker Family Band. And so, you know, I want everybody to go listen to Barker Family Band, or you can just put in Sarah Evans live at City Winery.
It's great.
It's incredible.
There's some cool stuff on there. Yeah, the Stevie Wonder cover always shines to me.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that was
Olivia singing it.
Olivia killed it. You and Aunt Leslie on background vocals were awesome, and
you were awesome on lead guitar.
Yeah, now I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, wow, I was young enough, or I was so young, but still doing some cool moments, you know. I had some cool, there's some cool moments. It's hard for me even now to
brag on yourself.
Well, it's not
really
bragging,
it's just to say it's great.
Yeah, there were some cool moments.
Right. Cool moments. And so we went to your high school and spoke to the people at the high school and said, you know, I want Avery to come out and tour with me because I really wanted you to gain some live touring experience before you graduated and moved to Nashville.
Right.
And I think that was difficult too, because you were worried, because you grew up with my band.
Right.
And now all of a sudden Avery's on stage, and what are they going to think? And,
is it good enough? I was always like, gosh, I hope I'm not slowing. Because you also have a lineage of amazing guitar players that have played on your records.
Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I always think like an important thing about Nashville to remember is that the guys that you never hear of that play on the records are the best of the best. Forget the rock stars that we all hear about, know about. These guys that are playing on records are like I don't want to compare them to the greats, but I think had they been in London in 1965, they would have been considered the greatest guitar player of all time.
Right.
But now they're like, Nashville, the music business is a business. So they're just like normal people.
Yes.
Show up for work, then they go home and have normal lives.
Yes.
But they're so good. So, playing their parts is intimidating.
Right.
Because they're really good parts. And then live, you had people play that were phenomenal. Like,
so talk about some of the guitar players that played with me for a while. We were laughing because it was like
so many good ones.
So many of the ones that are the top session players now started with me.
Exactly. Or played for you for
Derek Wells,
Chris Donegan. Brent Wilson. Shane Smith, who's with you now again. And then on your records, the late great
JT
Cornfloss, who's one of the greatest of all time. Tom Bukovac. Yeah. Uncle Larry.
Tom Bukovac's got the big solo on Real Fine Place to start.
Yeah. And everyone my age rediscovered Tom Bukovac because he started that YouTube channel.
That's right.
So he's like a celebrity now.
Yeah.
And I think he's also one of my favorite guitar players of all time. He's just phenomenal.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I, kept saying to you, this is a family business. We need to think of it that way. And I would have never done that to you or Olivia if you weren't good enough. Like I never would have, I'm very self-aware, and I think I am. I try to be, but especially about music. So I never would have put you all out there, but I wanted you to get some touring live show experience that I was able to have,
right?
Growing up. So anyway,
wait, sorry. Can I change my my pouch? I'm not going to name the brand because
I want to try those. Like literally everyone does. What if I tried it right now on the podcast?
No, not right.
Can you give me one of those?
Do you want to?
I want to try it right now.
Okay. They're going to change your world.
What do I do? Just never mind. I'm not going to try it. Every time I want to try it, everybody tells me that I'll vomit. And
a lot of people, it takes time to get used to. Yeah,
I'll give it back to you because you don't want to waste one. Are they expensive?
Right. Not really. They're like $5.
Oh, that's good.
A pack. Yeah,
that's good. So I don't want to run out of time because I want to spend a lot of time talking about this. So
yeah,
I am. So leading all of that, and there's so much more we could talk about and tell. And
then I toured for other artists for a while.
Yes,
that's the short. We'll make it short, but like a really great artist named Connor Smith, who's amazing, toured for him, and then left him to do what I hope I'm going to be doing for a minute.
Yes. Well, you've been working your ass off for the last, several years, and you're, I'll just say, it's hard when you're the mom and you're talking about it, but you are incredibly smart. You are. Like,
depends on who you ask again, kind of like the kindness thing.
You're incredibly smart. And so I am always blown away by your songwriting because you write primarily by yourself. And you'll write a song and you'll send it to me. And I'm always just blown away. Like, there's no way I could have written that alone. And as a parent, you always want your children to be better than you at everything. And really and truly, your songwriting is just so cool. And it's so different than anything that's out there now. So
different meaning weirder and not as cool. No, I'm kidding.
No,
not marketable.
No, it's it's
not commercial.
It's so different that it'll never ever be heard.
See the radio ever.
But also, you have grown up with a mom being a singer, sister being a singer, and you primarily being, just a guitar player. And so you have just recently recorded your first EP. Mm-hmm. And Todd Lombardo produced it.
Yep. Shout out Todd.
Shout out to Todd Lombardo. We love
Genius.
him. He is a genius. He played on my last album, Unbroke.
Yep, which is how he and I met.
Right.
Yep.
He played on why do I always want to name the album Slow Burn?
Because that's the first song.
Yeah, that's what I think of. Mm-hmm. What is it?
Golden Hour.
Golden Hour. How am I going to put that in my memory? Even though I have that album memorized, every part, every song. I love Casey Musgraves. I love her music.
Yep. We have the same birthday.
You guys have the same birthday,
which
August 21st.
I don't think means anything. I'm not saying it means something, but
it might.
I do feel like she is like arguably my biggest inspiration as an artist, a writer, singer.
And maybe at some point you'll be her biggest inspiration.
Oh, doubt it. No way.
You never know. No. You've got the same birthday. But we as a family, we obsessed over that. That was another
record we just obsessed over.
Obsessed over it. And that's Todd Lombardo doing all that amazing acoustic stuff that just blows you away.
Yep.
So you met Todd when we were tracking my record, Unbroke. And
I knew about Todd.
My record.
Yeah,
my record, Unbroke. That's
everyone
for sale
download it right now. And then download mine when it comes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say? You met Todd.
Yeah, I met Todd, but I already knew about Todd because the first time I heard Golden Hour and Slow Burn's the first track, I was such a music snob at the time. Like, there's an era I think a lot of guitar players go through where they're such snobs. Like, anything made after 1975 isn't cool.
Right.
Or like anything that is focused on the vocal isn't cool.
Yes.
And I was in that era of being a fan.
Or anything that's pretty.
Anything that's pretty, vulnerable.
Yeah.
And Livy was like, you have to listen to the new Casey Musgraves album. And I was like, oh, fine. But I was like, it's not going to be Led Zeppelin or it's not going to be, and she plays me, we're in the parking lot of the Summit Mall in Birmingham. And she turns on Slow Burn. And as soon as that acoustic starts, I'm hooked. The vocal's amazing. The lyrics are crazy. And then the second verse when the drums come in.
Yes.
In Tennessee, the sun's going down, but in Beijing, they're headed out. And I was just like...
Now, who is that playing?
That's Ian Fitchhook, who also wrote and produced it with Daniel Tashian.
Yes.
If this podcast says anything, it's that we're nerds. And the trade thing I said earlier is true because we're obsessed with the inner workings of it.
So many things that, most people won't even hear it when they listen to it, but we obsess over it.
Yeah, I always view and then we can move on to the project. But Robert Downey Jr., his dad was a filmmaker, and he's such a nerd about films, even as an adult. Like when you listen to his interviews, and I feel like, again, the lineage thing, the parent thing, the Nepo baby thing is really we're just giant nerds about it.
Right.
Yes. And because we know the inner workings of how records get made, that's why we talk about the players all the time and the obsession with that part of it.
Exactly. All the harmonies they did and how it's EQ'd and, that
which led to Todd.
Which led to Todd.
So he did your record and I was so nervous and I was like, where are you from, Todd? Like, what's your story? Even though I already knew. I already knew you played on the records, the Casey records, and and we hit it off a little bit, and then I wrote Clean Break, which is going to be one of the songs on the EP with my friend William Hall, who's amazing, great singer, great writer, and he told me that Todd had just produced a song for him, or he had done it at Todd's studio in East Nashville, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting idea, because I had all these songs, but I didn't know like how I was gonna do it. Part of me thought I was gonna be like the Tame Impala thing and like do it all myself, and Now I know that could have never worked, you know?
Yeah.
So then we ran into Todd at the Post Malone Stagecoach thing.
Right.
And you've taught me this, and I've always been bad about it in my life so far until this moment. But you're like, you gotta just like hound people about doing stuff with you. And if you want to get picked up by people who are older and wiser, you have to just kind of be a little bit of a bug to them, be a little bit annoying. So I worked up the courage, and I probably had 8 tequila sodas at Stagecoach. But I saw Todd and his wife, who's also an incredible artist. And I just walked right up to him, and I was like, man, I saw you at Rudy's Jazz Club a couple weeks ago with Victor Krause. And we met when you played on my mom's record. And I'd love to get coffee and talk about some ideas I have. And he was like, yeah, man. So we texted. I said, I want to make a record. And the reason I wanted to make music is because I have all these different interests, and it's the old phrase, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I don't know what to do with. I want to write, I want to produce, I want to play on records, I want to tour. And like when you're young in Nashville, it's really hard to get in some of those worlds at a young age, because there are so many great people that are already doing it. And that's not me being self-deprecating, but it's just me being honest. It's like, you're not going to get in the room at as a young of an age as 24 or 25. It's going to take a minute.
Right.
So I just thought.
And you're not going to get in a room. Don't lose your train of thought.
Okay.
You're not going to get in the room just because you're the son of Sarah Evans.
Right. Right.
That people.
Everybody's good here.
That's right.
It doesn't matter who's.
And people think that's the case. It's not. It's not. But anyway, so.
Well, I just thought, what's the quickest way I can do all of those things at once and showcase all these interests I have? I wouldn't even call them skills. I would just say interests. And I thought, okay, well, if you write your own songs and make a little project, that's the quickest way you can show people how you write, how you produce, because I sort of co-produced it with Todd, how you play electric guitar. So yeah, I sent him a couple songs. He was like, I like this one and this one. Let's do 2. And then being a perfectionist, I go, 2's not enough. I hate 2. I want to do 3. 3's a good number. So I wrote one more, send it to Todd at like 4 a.m, because I like to text late at night.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it drives him crazy. But I sent him the song, and I said, I want to do 3. Let's do 3. And then it kept getting pushed back. He played on the Post Malone record and played a few shows with Post. And he got really busy, and it kept getting pushed back. And I got so discouraged. I was like, this is just not meant to be.
You got a little in your head.
I got in my head, like, are the songs even good? Like, but I had the tiniest, like, mustard seed of faith still. And then finally we got a date down, which was about a week ago, and recorded 3 songs. And he brought in an amazing band, Lex Price on bass, Fred Eltringham on drums. And then my best friend Adam, who's a prodigy on the keys, he's just incredible. He played some keys on it. And then Livy sang her ass off, and redeemed my vocal, made my vocal sound so much better. Because I'm a self-conscious singer. That's a strength, I think, in the long run, because it makes me focus so much on the writing and the parts playing, because I have zero faith that my voice is going to carry the song. I know it's going to be other things, and then the voice is going to, and again, I'm not being self-deprecating. I'm just being honest. Like, one of the biggest epiphanies I had about doing this is, like, the biggest fight as a creative or a musician is, like, what you want to be and what you are. And, like, you might want to be all these things, but you got to just be what you are.
Right.
And roll with it and be confident in that. Because I think sports and music are so related. You know, I'm sure Tom Brady wanted to be faster, and I'm not saying I'm Tom Brady, but as an example.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wanted to be faster, more athletic, run the ball, but he can't. So he had to master what his strengths were, and then he ended up being Tom Brady. I think that's a great analogy for music. Like, you might want to be the greatest powerhouse singer. Like, I so badly want to be Vince Gill or Don Henley when I sing. I'm never gonna be. That's okay. I'm gonna sing the way I sing. And And as scary as that was to do in the moment, now that the songs are recorded, I'm like, okay, it's a little weird. My voice isn't necessarily a strength, but it's a unique quality that makes the songs interesting. So that was the biggest battle, going from being sideman guitar player to being a singer.
The center part of the project.
Yeah, was accepting that. And it was a great realization to have. And Todd really helped because he was a very supportive producer vocally, and Livy too.
Todd was a godsend because
A Toddson
because his personality is perfect for yours.
Yep.
And for the places where you have insecurities,
right?
You know, it seems like, and I wasn't in the studio with you. I was on the road, and I got home from the road and was able to just come in for like the last 30 minutes of what y'all were doing.
Yep.
And I was literally blown away.
Thank you.
Still am. Avery, so I disagree with you on so much of what you said about your voice.
Thank you.
And I've been telling you that for years. But you grew up with two powerhouse singers.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a powerhouse singer. Olivia she doesn't sing as loud as me, but she has finesse. She's just phenomenal. But that's the way we feel about you as a musician and a singer. But you're right. Your voice isn't the typical
male,
you know, like big. It's not Chris Stapleton.
Right.
It's more in the vein, I would say, of like, you know, John Mayer or
Neil Young was a big one.
Neil Young. Yeah. You have a high range, which I love. It's so cool.
So embarrassing. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's so embarrassing.
I wear tight jeans. Tight jeans when I sing.
But so y'all recorded 3 songs, and it's your first EP that you're going to be, you know, putting out, and we'll probably release this podcast around when that happens. But I can't describe how amazing it is.
Well,
and I'm just telling you that as a musician, like, and it's not just you, but it's, you know, Fred, and it's Todd, and it's what you played. And also what people don't understand is, and what I didn't even realize until a couple of years ago, is your slide playing. Like, you're an unbelievable slide guitar player.
Thank you.
You really
That's
are.
the only compliment I will take, because I've focused a lot on that element of my guitar playing.
It's true. I mean, it's the gift inside your gift. It's unbelievable. And I just asked you to produce 2 songs for me for Christmas.
Yep.
And you went in and played slide on one of those songs, and I just couldn't believe it, because I don't hear you play slide that much.
Right. It's kind of an obscure part of the instrument that not a ton of people do.
Or can do, or I don't know. But I was just sitting in the control room just like screaming, because you were doing so much
out of tune playing.
Playing. No, just incredible. And the combination of everything about you as a person, the way you sing, the way you play guitar, the way you write, the songs that you write, and the way that you say things. Like, I'm such a fan. I would be a fan of yours. Either way, you know what I mean? I would be obsessed, like with the Casey album or with the John Mayer record. That's what this music is to me.
Well,
I mean, I have not stopped listening to it, and it's not because I don't love every song that you write that you send me.
Right.
But
obviously,
these, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm always honest with you.
Yeah. There are a lot of duds when you're a songwriter. They're mostly duds.
I've written so many duds.
Yeah.
But these 3 that you and Todd chose to put on this EP are just, I would call it magical. I would say that the whole project is magic. And the day that you went in to start the project, you were sick.
Yeah.
You had a horrible sinus or cold or whatever, and you were just like, damn it,
of course,
and I was on the road and I was just praying like that it would all go great. I can't believe how it turned out. Like,
I know. Yeah, the cold cleared up, which was nice.
Yeah, the cold cleared up.
By the time I sang, it was...
But man, every part that everybody put on it, and like you said,
the way... Todd on guitar is just,
Todd on guitar is just amazing, but also the way Todd produced you, not just as a singer and a musician, but as a person.
Right.
It's like he knew... Todd's a great producer.
He is. I think I'd love to work with him forever.
I feel like you should work with him forever.
Yeah. And it was great having the burden of acoustic guitar taken off of me, because that's his specialty. He's like what they call in Nashville utility guy. Comes in with like a mandolin, a banjo, acoustic. And I always fancied myself a good acoustic player. And then you get around Todd and you're just like, and again, I'm not being self-deprecating, I'm just being honest. I'm just like, gosh, he's on a different level. It's like a sport. He's so athletic the way he plays acoustic guitar.
Yes.
And so him taking that reign, and then all I had to do was, I kind of got to be a diva for the first time, which, I just had to sing and play electric solos.
Right.
And a few electric rhythm parts and stuff that we wrote together. But yeah, for the first time in my life, I had other people playing for me, because I've always played for people, and it was so cool. And even if, I think just the act alone of doing it, even if, because I'm trying to subscribe to that Rick Rubin perspective of like, it doesn't matter what happens once it's done, you've done it. That's all that matters. But even if it goes nowhere, that experience alone taught me so much about recording, writing songs, dealing with frustration at the time of like waiting for it to happen. And like writing is just so cathartic, as you know.
Yes.
Like these songs are all about the same subject.
Yes.
I mean, certain people will know what subject I'm talking about. And they're all about loss and like how incorrectly I dealt with loss in my early 20s. And I think every song is that theme. It's like dealing incorrectly with loss.
But it's written so... It's just written so well. The songs are written so well that it is... I mean, I love how you're describing it. It's how you incorrectly dealt with loss. But it's so much more than that. It's about how sad loss is.
Right.
And who does deal with it well.
Correctly, right.
Yeah. And so the way that you describe how you dealt with it is how most people, do.
Yeah. And that's what country music is.
Yes.
Gosh. I mean, we already talked about influences and like records that we love, but this year was my country year. I mean, the past year or so, I really dove into George Jones. I really dove into Hank Williams Sr. And like, God, talk about lyrics about loss and heartbreak and devastation and not knowing how to deal with it. And
who else older country do you like? Like George Strait?
Oh my gosh, of
course. Vince Gill, you're obsessed with Vince
Gill. Vince is my there's shades of Vince in my guitar playing on this record. There's one solo on one of the songs called Anything More. That is the outro is
it's straight up Vince.
I'm just copying Vince. Shout out Vince too.
Well, it's paying homage to him.
Of course, I want to. I think Vince is like arguably the greatest country artist of all time.
Yeah.
Besides you, of course.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Duh.
Yeah.
Male artist.
Yeah. Right.
But, Vince Gill, everything is such full circle when that's what's so incredible about life in general is that Vince Gill helped me get my first #1 record.
Right.
Which I wasn't going to have a child till I had a first #1 record. And that's Vince Gill. But you just fell in love with Vince Gill on your own.
Oh my gosh.
And, but I would say that I witnessed something miraculous last week in you. I feel like your life changed last week.
Hopefully, or I'm just in a manic phase. We'll see. Yeah. the high's only as high as the next low. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you have to be manic to do what we do. And you are quite strange in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
Which is what everyone loves about you. Because
Well, I hope. Yeah, that's what I've had to tell myself.
yeah. You're so funny and you're so quirky, and I love your self-deprecating jokes because you actually mean it.
I do. I mean it. I 100% mean it. Yeah.
No matter how much, as a parent, when you try to tell your child, that's not true. You're great, but you naturally, I call it a humble spirit. I mean, I feel like God has given you a spirit of humility. And
again, that's just too nice of a way of putting it. No.
But it's true. It really is. I mean, you were just born with an incredible heart. And
thank you. But I really I swear to you, it is just admiration for the people I love in music. It's maybe I have that, but I really think it's because I just idolize talented musicians and writers and singers, and I just truly think they're incredible.
Yes.
So when it comes to talking about one's own talents or whatever, it's not fun for me. I'd rather talk about other people because I just am a nerd. I'm a giant nerd. I'm obsessed with the goats, as the kids say.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, I always talk about how I'm obsessed with musicians, and as you learn, making your own project. Last week, you said I got to be the diva. That's how I've spent my career, going in and just being in awe of what these musicians are doing, and they never get the credit they deserve.
No. And now because of the internet, they are a lot more.
Yes.
The session people, the engineer, Justin Francis, also I want to shout out.
Yeah.
Mixed it and tracked it, and he's a genius. He did your record.
He is a genius. He's incredible.
Which go download, by the way.
Lombardo on the podcast.
You should.
What did you say?
I said go download your record.
Yeah, go download Unbroke. Don't forget about that.
And the merch and the
merch.
All the other stuff.
Every album that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
the
all
vinyl.
Barker Family Live at City Winery.
Yes.
Just so you can hear Avery playing at 18.
No, don't do that.
Plus, I will say this too. People have a lot of misconceptions about famous people and famous people's lives.
Right.
You haven't had an easy life. You've been through some stuff, and I feel like you've had an awesome life.
I've had I feel like I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I've had a good life.
Yeah, but I'm grateful for some of the traumatic things that have happened in my life, and you would probably say that too, because it does help you come up with material.
Yep.
You really can't have this easy life where nothing ever goes wrong and no struggles. And I mean, maybe some people can, but I don't think I could write unless I had that.
There's a tortured element to any artist.
Yeah. Damn it. Everything I say, you say it better.
Oh gosh.
That's what I was trying to say.
Drunk. No, I'm kidding.
You're just wasted. I need to get wasted. Yeah, there is a tortured element.
There is. Yeah. But also you have to maintain as much normalcy as you possibly can. I'm kind of a neat freak, and you are too. And people are always like, that's so surprising. You strike me as a kind of a messy, musician type personality, but I'm so type A because I'm making up for, and you are too, and that's why we have the same brain.
Yes.
Making up for the
chaos
that goes on every day in this head right here.
Yes.
In your head. So
one of our favorite things to do is just sit and have a glass of red wine and just talk. And, I feel like we probably drive people crazy sometimes because we will, get off on a topic that might just be talking about, Todd's guitar playing or Aaron Sterling on drums or this one song for 2 hours,
Yep.
But we're running out of time. We only have a little bit of time left. I want to have you back on maybe again when the EP is released.
Yeah.
But
maybe me and Todd together would be fun.
You and Todd together would be so fun. But
which is also, side note, it's so weird that y'all call me Todd.
Oh yeah, that's
I
your
told Todd
nickname.
that. Yeah, Todd has been my nickname for years.
So Audrey, who's the light of our family.
Yeah.
Nothing against Olivia or you.
Or me.
I mean, all three of you, I love equally. I always say you're my favorite, but it's because
the boy privilege thing is
it
real.
is the son privilege. It really is. It's the mother son, and then dads have it with their daughters. You know, it's just like that connection. But I also just love your brain. I'm just so obsessed with your brain and the way you think. And you hate your brain. But Audrey, who is the comedian in the family, and she was on the podcast, and she's crazy and
fearless.
Fearless. She is fearless. But she gives everybody nicknames, and she gave you the nickname Todd, which is so weird. Like it has nothing to do with Avery.
Right.
Nothing to do with anything.
Right.
But yeah, that's your nickname. So I would love to have you, Todd and the
Squared.
other Todd.
That's
Todd
the
Squared.
EP name is Todd Squared.
Todd Squared.
Yep.
Is it? Can we say the names of the songs yet or no?
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Yes.
Well, it's in all my brilliance, I recorded music right before the most chaotic election in U.S. history. So I don't think anyone's going to put music out in the next couple of months.
There's a lot of lead up that has to be, done, as you know.
Right.
So
maybe like New
January.
Year.
Yeah.
As bad as I want to do it like next month, but
like right now.
Next month is going to be focused on a lot of other things.
That's right.
No one's going to give a shit about some indie country record.
I think a lot of people, I want you to do a lot of interviews and just talk about, this project and before you release it. But the three songs are
Paloma, which is a drinking song, which we tried to make it sound like Little Feat, and I think we did a really good job. If anyone's a Little Feat fan, they'll know. Second song I wrote with William Hall, which is called Clean Break, which is about breaking up with someone who has an avoidant personality style, who doesn't want to get into the weeds of why you're breaking up.
Yeah, which is so frustrating.
So frustrating. You're like, at least if we're going to split, we got to talk about why.
Right.
And then the third song is Anything More, which I base off of the movie La La Land, because I just watched it like the week before I wrote it. And the scene where, because the whole movie is about, them getting what they want in the end at the sacrifice of their relationship.
Right.
So then I wrote this song called Anything More that's like talking about how when I was with somebody, I had all these big dreams of things I wanted to do that seemed like so far-fetched. And then the relationship ended, and I got all of those things like out of nowhere. I joined Connor's band. We played Red Rocks. We opened for Thomas Rhett, who's amazing, and Parker McCollum. And I just had the time of my life touring, seeing the country with my best friends at the time, still are, all those guys that I played with. But the song is like, I've had amazing times and I've lived out sort of my dream life the past couple of years without you, but it's like the Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, is that the actress? Scene, they go back and in like a 2-minute montage, see what their life would have been like together.
Yes.
So the song is kind of that same topic. And then the song ends with Livy singing la la, la la, as a background vocal part.
I did not know that.
So we based it on, like, we wanted it to sound like La La.
I did not
La La
know
Land.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Well, it's brilliant. It's like, huge loss followed by great things happening, but the huge loss is still there, kind of getting in the way of
enjoying
of the joy of the great things happening.
Right. So just super depressing topics all around.
I think that you should get another tattoo, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, I think you should get 3 more tattoos with each song, because this is your first project.
Okay. And it's a lot of real estate.
It's a lot of tattoos.
Small.
Yeah. Are you planning on getting more tattoos, by the way?
I don't know. I lost the fever.
Yeah.
I wanted it, and then I got super into sort of, traditional, like menswear and like how people were dressed in the 50s and like cowboy culture.
Right.
And I was like, they didn't have tattoos. Like the Eagles, none of them had tattoos.
None of them had tattoos?
I don't think so.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I was like, I'm not as keen on getting tattoos anymore.
I think you definitely need to get one, at least one that maybe is the title of your EP.
Okay.
Because
So Todd Squared.
This Todd Squared.
Yeah.
This music is so incredible. I cannot wait for the world to hear it.
Thank you.
Not because you're my son, but because I'm a fan of your music.
Thanks.
And I know that your life changed last week.
Yeah.
And your life is just going to keep changing.
Getting worse.
For the getting worse and worse and worse, starting with being on this podcast.
This is the downfall. Shout out
which is
Downfall.
a song on my album
Go
Unbroke
download
that
Downfall. That's a great way to close it right there.
It's a great way.
Plug it. Plug your project one more time over mine.
Duh, yours isn't even out yet.
I know.
You'll come back.
It won't even come
Plug your
out probably.
project.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks
the podcast.
for having me. This was so fun.
I love you.
Yeah, love you too.